Hey everybody. So what we're going to do today is go over 11 different ideas for what I consider short squeezes. Let me just clarify what this is. So a short squeeze is a stock where it is abundantly short, where we have a lot of people short a stock. And then it starts to create a little pattern, and then based upon that pattern, it starts to move. In the past, we've gone over stocks that have had very large short positions, but the charts really didn't move or weren't ready to move, so they weren't as actionable. What we're going to do today is go over charts that are way more actionable than before. I'm just going to start right through the rip. They're not in alphabetical order because there's only a few of them. So we're just going to run and just start running right through them. And at the end of the day, if I have enough time, I might just walk you through a 12th one. But I already covered it yesterday in the stocks to buy video. So, but let's just get right into it. So this go-go, and what I'm saying here is that they have large short positions. And for people that don't understand what a short squeeze is, it's when the shorts get nervous and have to cover. Okay, when they realize that their thesis is wrong, and that's what you're looking for here. You're not looking at this as saying, I'm going to be in this for the next year or two. I'm looking for this to have a move that is a technical move and then make money off that move. It's not a comment on the company in and of itself or the fundamentals of the company. Just understand that. That's where the process is coming from. So what I like about this is and this one's go-go, if you look at what's going on here, okay, you have this little break right here, which led to this huge rally, and we closed right on it. Now I can get even more technical and drop it down to that $12 level, and you could see how we hit here, hitting here, and now we hit here and we can't close above it. So really your pivot on this, and this is GOGO, is that 1232 level. That's what you need to see. If it gets above that 1232 level, you're going to see more people step in and clear. Now what's good about this one is it's respecting the 200-day here, and I'm going to get rid of this channel that it did break out of. But look at this. Okay, we undercut the low, right? We can even drop it to the point of the low and see that we actually undercut it, hit the 200-day, bounced up through it, and since then we've just been looking exceptional. So this is setting up for a spike, like a 1 or 2 day spike. I mean, you can see how it does this, right? So we're setting up for one of those right here, and the fact that we broke out of that rising wedge that I just got rid of, you can see that line. Like if you follow this tangent, you can see you closed above that, right? So this is setting up for a move very similar to something like these little spikes. What we want to see is that 1232, clear that, and then that would be our pivot point for a short-term trade. And what we're really looking for is ones that have confirmed that they're most likely done dropping at this point. Now, this really didn't double bottom here, and that's actually not a bad thing on Blink. And the reason that it's not a bad thing on Blink is because I'm more interested in the fact that we held this 200-day. So we tested, let's just get real close into this and really drill into it. So if I was short this, and this is kind of how you have to think, if I was short this and I started hitting the 200-day and I thought I was going to break and I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to come in on Monday, I'm going to look at the stocks, and I'm going to try to make a decision. You have to think like this about what I'm going to do. And it's a pretty clear decision on what's going to happen here. So all day Friday, I just got crushed, right, if I was short this. So I open at the low. I think that, okay, I'm going to open here, and then I'm going to continue. I'm going to break this, and we're going in the teens. And that's not what happens. So you're seeing a buy here, right? Get above this little peak. It's not much. It's 30, and 34 is where it closed, but I would use 30.50. And if you get above 30.50 here, you're going to see an enormous push in this name. It's a very large short position. And there's a lot going on in this little section here that you could really pay attention to. You have this wedge right here. Okay. And if you click on this and clone this, you'll see that it fits right up here, right? So you have a shot here. If you stay in just this falling wedge channel, and this stock does seem to respect its channel, And you always clone these lines because you want the same trajectory or you don't have a true channel. So just to get to the upper end of that channel gets me to 36.5, which gets me to the 50-day. Getting through this, I don't think the 21 is going to be most of an issue. I mean, we can see how we've gotten through that a couple times. So I'd put this on your radar, and you're looking at 30.5. So this one's pretty interesting to me. And it's a really, it's in the right space right now. So retail is just on absolute fire. And I'm not sure why they're ganging up on this one, but the last time they ganged up on it, you had a move. The short move on this was what? 114%. So, you're setting up for something like that. Now, if you look at these stocks, every stock has a pattern associated with it, right? They all have certain personalities. And you see how tight this gets? And then it starts getting spiky. See how tight this is getting versus how wide it's been? And it's getting spiky. And now we're starting to see the 21-day. And it's really important to look at the details when you look at a stock chart. Now you're seeing the 21-day go flat. Well, when was the last time that happened? It's been a while. So we're starting to see that go flat. And we have a completed morning star here. So if I can get above this key level, this 25.92 level, you're going to see some buying step in. And that's probably where a lot of people that are short this are going to say, okay, well, that's major resistance. And if I break major resistance, I want to be out of it. So breaking that, and you see how you have to kind of think about how the people that are short are looking at their positions. They're going to have, most people that are short they tend to be a little more sophisticated. So there's more of a game plan in there, and you have to just use that to your advantage. So what you want to do is just look for that level. And if you get above that 25.92, 26, I would expect this to have a decent move. It will at least get you to 27.88, which you can then move the stop up so that you don't get crushed if it rolls again. And you're really looking for this to fill to the top of the gap, which would at least take you to 29. So there's probably 4 points here minimum, but what you're really looking for is to try to get a squeeze like this and see if it has that possibility. We just won't know until we're in the trade. And the goal is to get in the trade, stay in the trade. ASO was one that we were talking about a short squeeze before. And we did exceptionally well with this one. We were up over 10% in a couple days. This is old data from about 4 weeks ago. So we're just going to get rid of all that, and we're just going to start over. My goal with these is just to present short-term trading opportunities to make money. That's it. It's not predicated upon anything with the companies or the spaces. So just so we're clear. But take a look at this. So see this little wedge? You get above a higher high here, right? And this is setting up for 35.75. I mean, I would play it this tight. And the reason I would play it this tight is because it's a very tightly wound stock, but it's respecting every level. And I think you're going to clear this finally. I think you're going to clear this upper channel. First time's a charm, second time, no, third time, most likely. Right? So that's usually what you want to see. You keep knocking on a door long enough, eventually that door does open. And that's what I think is going to happen here. So 35.75. I do know that we traded this one before down here. I think 32.5 was our key level last time. And you could see how we had that one day where we came down, tested that key level and bounced right back. Now we're closing at a high, and I believe this is an all-time high, but let's just make sure that, yep, we're closing at an all-time high. And if you're short a stock, I mean, even the professional traders are going, geez, we're going to hit here. At some point, I don't want to lose another $2, $3, and you throw in the towel. And once you throw in the towel on this, it should have a much stronger move up, possibly something like this. Which is really what you're looking for. And a move like that to those levels is roughly a 35% move. So I do think that that's feasible, that you could get through that level. And you could see how this is really what I'm saying. So like last time we had this little, right? You had this wedge, 1, 2, 3. See how it took 3 times here? So this sets the tone. Then 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3, right? Stocks have patterns associated with them. Just kind of keep that in mind. Doesn't mean it's going to work, but it's a way of managing the position is the best way to explain it. So I do think that you're setting up here for this to have a much larger move, and I would say 35.75 is where I'll be looking at it. So skills is one from the newsletter. SK LZ that I recommended as a buy back here when we broke here. And, this is where I said trim or sell. And then when we had the reversal, we just got out of the rest. And we did fairly well with it. I think we did, let's see, what were we up? So, 43% in 3 days, I'll take it. And then the rest of it looks like we got out about here, which was 31% in 4 days. So I'll take that all day long. But, when I said to get out, there was a couple key reasons for that. One being the evening star and a rejection of the resistance. But we rolled right through the 200-day like butter and the 21 like butter. Like we just collapsed on it. But we have bounced off of this level. So this is a major support level. And what we did on Friday, and what I like about this one and why I do think it's actionable, we bounced right we opened underneath of it and then rallied right to the 21-day. And sure, you're going to fail it most likely the first time, but you're setting up here. Now your stop is just the pivot bar. So your stop on this is 1383 is the low. So make it 13 3/4. I mean, that's really your stop on it. And what you want to do is just get above the top of this wick. The top of this wick was $16, right? 16.13. So that's right where the 21-day is. Give me the 16 1/4. And I think that we can get back up here. As we base, I don't really pay that much attention to these lines, but they are going to be somewhat resistance points because people are going to be looking at them. But that gets me to 18.5, 19 3/4, and gets me to re-challenge this 20.5 level. So this is a nice entry spot for it with this as your pivot bar. And if you just take a look at this, you can just kind of see what's transpired here. You have this nice wedge, and then you open really on the wedge and then break up. So I'd put this one on your list as one to watch. This is a name that a lot of people really want to own for whatever reason, but I would definitely put it out there. So Airbnb was one I never thought I'd say would be, one setting up for a short squeeze. But I'm shocked at the people that are short this, frankly, and how many of them there are. So what you're seeing here is this trend line, right? And as soon as we broke this trend line down, what happened? It just became a disaster. So when you break a falling trend, like when you have a falling wedge and you break it to the downside, it's just, it's just sheer panic because you have people that are buying along these levels. And the reason they're doing that is because they just want to trade. They want to trade the channel, right? So when they break here, that's why I don't like using these as stop points, because when you break there, you have an issue, right? Just for FYI, let's say you bought when you hit here and you're in this trade. And when you open here and you open and close and go under that gap in the previous day, that should be a much better, stop level than waiting to see if this breaks. If I reject this into the close, there's no reason to think that I'm going to have a good day the next day. Just something to keep in mind. But I'll tell you what I do like about this trade a lot, actually. Look at that volume. That is the single greatest volume Airbnb has ever had. And we've had it on Friday. And why I like these short squeeze ideas, I was tempted to do a different kind of video this Sunday. But what I really liked about the shorts this week, everyone and their sister is on social media talking about how they're going to be short Arete and it's going to zero and everything else. When everybody is leaning on one side of the boat, we're going to turn. I mean, when you start seeing people talking like this week is setting up for short squeezes. I mean, it's pretty clear to me. Anything could happen. News could come out. Geopolitical events can change everything, right? But we are setting up for people to start covering their short positions, which could lead to a squeeze. And everybody shorting Arete at this point, to me, it's just silly. And the people from the newsletter already know, and the newsletter's free, and there'll be a link in the bio for it. But you really just want to take into account that when you start seeing everybody leaning that way, you don't want to be on that side of the boat. You just don't. You want to be on the other side of the boat. But to get back to this one before I jump, you really have to look at this, right? So here's my double bottom. I undercut here. Then I open here, and let's just look at the change because, again, the devil's in the details. I open here. I close below the line. You think it's the end of the world. Everybody panics, right? Possibly even adds to the short position. I open above support or above resistance, which then becomes support, fulfilling a double bottom, and then I break out. Okay, and I close it green. On the highest volume, right? Here's your highest volume. On the highest volume the stock's ever had since it opened. So that's pretty substantial to see that, and it's a signifying of a reversal. So the way that I would play this is very simple. The high of this bar was 142.33. The high of this bar was 142.25. 142.50, and this will, see this channel right here? That's where you'll go to. So you don't have, there's no resistance in here, and that's why I like this. It should take you right to that 159 line. There's no resistance in here whatsoever. And really, I mean, even if you get to this 159, which is the bottom of this channel, you can see where that takes you, right? It takes you right to this. I mean, you can see that level. So, and it's not, exact, but you get the idea. That's really where you're gonna fall into. And I like this trade. I like this one a lot. MCS was one. And there was just one key thing that really got me interested in this. We've seen this volume, and you're starting to see it turn and head up. Now, at the same time that this is turning, okay, this was the first time since it started back here in March that we actually have a higher high. And at the same time, we're staying above that 21 day. Now, we've been staying above the 21 and the 50 sometimes, and then we're going below it. But just watch this one. You're looking for a volume spike like this. You want to see a huge volume spike in it, right? But if this breaks this level, okay, the count is to the top of the wedge, which would take you back to $24.71 or $25. So this has a lot of potential, and it doesn't really have that much downside because it's pretty much a low beta stock. I mean, your swing would be, to me, would be a higher high. I wouldn't even wait for the 50-day. We can see how it cleared it here. We can see how it cleared it here. The 50-day is not an issue for this stock. So that's what you really want to see. And I find that really interesting. So I'm not worried about that. The higher high alone would get me interested at 20. It's 2010, make it 20 and a quarter. And then your stop is, this is 1940. So you could literally make your stop less than $1 on this trade. And you have the potential for a 24, and 3/4 move. So there's a 4-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio here. I like that trade a lot. And I think it could work. I think you just need to understand that with this one in particular, it's going to be slow and steady wins the race. It's not going to be like that fast squeeze I was talking about earlier with something like a go-go. You can see how that squeezed or how this one has squeezed before. You're not going to see that with MCS. That's just my opinion. I mean, anything, again, could happen. This one was fascinating when I was going through them. I went through about 100 of the largest short positions out there. Engaging in shorts that are increasing, as well as the largest aggregate shorts. And what I found so fascinating about this one was over 80% of this company is owned by institutions. So that's telling you something, right? They're not owning this for the short term. Institutions don't day trade. They can't. They're too big. So, but what we have here is right along this lower trend line, okay, we broke below it and then closed above it. And at the same time, we have a bullish engulfing bar on the bottom of this bar. And look at this volume. I mean, this volume is insane. You'd have to go all the way back to here to even see anything remotely like that. So I'm very interested in this one. I really like how you bottomed here, and then you just ran up all day long. And I think a higher high on this would negate the bear flag, because this is your flagpole and this is your flag. So that would really get me to that 34 level and get me in a decent position to see if this is going to turn around or not. But I do like this one. I'd like to see it break above. Just give me a higher high, and then let's just see if I can get through this and at least get to the top of this flag. So now, Wolf Petco Health, I mean, this one just went public, and I believe that we're at something like 40% of institutional ownership. Again, they're not weak hands that are holding this stock. They're not out to sell it right away. And yeah, you have a couple different breaks here, right? So you have a break here that you can see pretty clearly, right? So you broke this downtrend and the one thing, or this uptrend. And the one thing that I've always stated, we can get rid of these indicators for a moment. And let me throw this in here, this symbol. But one thing I've always stated was when you break one of these upper trend lines, you have roughly 3 days to get back into it for it to maintain that upper trend. This did exactly that. I mean, it did exactly what we needed it to do. Undercut, formed kind of a morning star, opened at the low, closed at the high. Now we're back in this little kill zone area, right? Where we have this little trend here. And then you're basically right in here, this like tight wedge. Something's going to happen. And I think that based upon the action, and we throw in the indicators, I need to see a spike in volume for this. But I have a position here that, and you can kind of see this one, not really, but put it here so you can kind of get a better understanding of where the larger one is. So, and this is just the larger one. It probably goes back a little further actually. But what you want to see is just at least get through this one, which would be $25. And getting through $25 is going to send this thing. I think you're going to see more buying stepping in. See, when institutions, when they own like 40% of the float, usually that means you still have room to increase. Like GDRX, the fact that they own 80% of the float does not give it a lot of room to increase, right? I mean, there's only so much stock. And that's why you see these huge spikes. And you're not going to see that huge of a spike on this because there's still so much supply out there that there's no reason to really panic. So they have different kinds of moves and characteristics with it. But look for this to get through 25 and go from there. This one's been short forever. People have been shorting this name and betting against this guy for as long as I can remember. Probably as long as I've been trading. Over 20 years, people have been betting against Perlman. And he just keeps chugging along. But what I really thought was interesting about this one is that you are holding this 200-day, and I'm not looking for a huge trade here, but you're holding this 200-day, and now you're right on this trend line. So if you blow this up, see here to the top of here. So what I need to see now, I need this to head up to this level. All I need to do is a higher high here, right? And then I'm in the gap. And then once I'm in that gap from here, because this was price rejection, 1053, all the way up to here is $11. So it gets me up about $1 before I even have to worry about my stop. And then simply when you're up that much, you just move the stop up with you. And then you just see if it works or it doesn't work. But at least the goal is that you protect your capital. I mean, that's the number one goal here always with everything that you're doing is you want to protect your capital, right? So that you can always take another shot. I mean, that's the goal, not sitting with losses. So, and this is your major level here is this 13 3/4 level. So finally, I'm going to go through this AMC and I'm going to do ARC again, just very quickly. For those that saw it Saturday and saw it through the newsletter. But AMC, I just really want to go over here. I'm going to just go to the weekly. Let's do the monthly for a moment. So I was trying to show this, and I've been talking about this one for months. I've been talking about this, like when it broke this level, I said, this is going to continue. I just don't know. You just don't know when. But when we stayed above the 778, I kept preaching about it, saying, look, you're going to stay up here. It's going to keep working. And what we did was we rallied up here and we retested this 1454 level, which really coincides right here, right? So like if you really look at that level, that's really where you're really coinciding to. Okay, the high of this weekly bar. And you keep hitting it. And really what it is that's the close, right? That's the close from 2 months ago. So everybody that owns it there, when it finally gets back to where they owned it from the close the night before you got through this, what do? They all get out of it. And remember that like we had the 17 level marked off. This was months ago, but you remember from us watching this, if you're been a returning viewer, you remember. So what do we do now? Well, finally, we're once again above the 200-week moving average, which is huge. You have this entire range of this weekly bar. You have the 21-week and the 50-week curling up, and the 200-day is starting to do that as well. So from a swing position, and I think that this has the potential to be enormous. But from a swing potential, I need to get through this 1454, which I have failed to do. Now, whether you want to buy it before then or not, that's entirely up to you. The next time where I'll put size on is through 1454. Once I get through that 1454 level, I'm going to be very interested here because it's going to give me, there's nothing to stop it. Like if you really look at the yearly bar, there's no resistance really in here. I mean, there's no real open and close in here. So if getting through 1454 is going to get me to the 17s. Now, let's just go back and look at this on the weekly and say, okay, that gets me to the 17s. Now what? Well, then you just start looking for these other peaks. And I do think that this is very feasible. You have to realize this isn't even trading at $1 billion. So just to kind of put that in perspective, I think the value, I have to relook at it. I want to say market cap 700 million, if that's accurate. If not, please somebody comment in the YouTube comments. But I believe that that's what the number was. So I have a relatively small company that's probably trading. I think that, very, I mean, obviously very little sales with the pandemic, but I should be able to get back to these levels. And once I see this transpire, I think it puts in a really nice opportunity for us. But I would look at this one and I would wait. I mean, it's up to you what you do, obviously, but I'm going to wait for the 1454 level. And I think 17, 18 is easy. And I really do think we're going to get back into the 20s on this. And finally, everyone and their sister, I put this one out there on Friday in the newsletter. It was one of 4 stocks I recommended in the newsletter to buy. I'm trying to get in this thing for a little bit longer term, but I mean, the amount of pressure that this stock is under right now, where everyone is, I have Motley Fool today writing an article about it, stating, oh, this is why I'm short it. The time to short this was here. Okay. If you wanted to short this is where you short it. You don't pile into a short when it's down 40% in 2.5 months. It's just stupidity. Where are you going? Let's say it drops another 10%. Let's just say that it drops 10 points. Okay, you made $10. Okay, this was $70. So you have to really think about when you're shorting, what's your rationale and reason behind it? Like, I get it. Okay, you broke the uptrend here in February. I understand why you would be considering, getting out of this. However, that doesn't mean anything, right? Now, what do? Well, now everybody's throwing in the towel. It's broken. It's broken this level. It's broken that level. Look, it's an ETF and it's a conglomerate of stocks. So theoretically, all those stocks have to keep going down as well. There's not going to be a liquidity crisis with this one because she's not over leveraged. The worst thing that can happen to ARK is that people do redemptions. And if they do redemptions, yes, this will go down. Is it going to 70? No, it's not. I mean, to understand how this ETF works and how ETFs work, you would literally at this point, my short level was like $90 on it. Okay, I figured you'd go back to October, November levels. The issue with it is this. The underlying companies have to be valued at less money than her company. You just can't attack her company and then think that the valuation of those companies is going to go away, because someone is out there that's going to buy TDOC at $125. They're going to buy Planter at $15 when it gets there, if it gets there, right? So that's going to be reflective in the price of this. So that's it in a nutshell. They're my ideas, and I wanted to run through ARK as well. I'll post this out there on Twitter and on Reddit so you can follow along if you want. And we'll go from there. As always, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. What we go over here is usually pretty timely stuff. So if you miss it, you pick it up 2-3 weeks later, it's really not worth your time. So that's it in a nutshell. Look forward to hearing from everybody. Enjoy your Sunday.